I'm JP Cormier. Welcome to this week's edition of String Theory, the live YouTube show where you ask the questions and we give the answers concerning all things stringed. And tonight, we're doing an incredibly special edition of this show live here at Fantasie Music in downtown Halifax, Nova Scotia. Right here on Spring Garden Road. This is a new shop that has popped up happily in our midst and is a tremendous purveyor of equipment and guitars, and there's some great guys running her. And so we're doing this tonight here, and we're going to introduce we're going to answer questions, but we're going to also introduce a couple of really cool things. The first thing we're going to talk about is Boucher, of course. I want to first of all mention all of our great sponsors: G&G Music up in Antigonish, Boucher Guitars, Levy Straps, and another one that we're going to show you and tell you about tonight. But I want to show you first one of the Boucher guitars that Fantasie has here. This is I always get tongue-tied trying to describe these instruments because they're unlike anything else. This is an SG-21 OM Studio Goose by Robin Boucher. And it's mahogany, sorry. Or is this Babinga?
Mahogany.
This is mahogany, yeah. It's hard to tell them apart with him sometimes. The grain, he chooses his grain so tight. But just look at the sides of that and the back, all bound in maple. Adirondack top. It's a thing of beauty. And I always say the same thing about these guitars is that bluegrass players love these things. That's scary because they usually go for a dreadnought instrument. But these have every bit as much power as a dreadnought guitar. I'm sure the microphones will never do it justice, but it's an incredible guitar, Canadian made, and it's right here in Halifax for sale. And this guitar is going for $4,349. And I can tell you right now that if you had to buy a Martin or a Taylor that sounded like this one, you'd be paying a lot more money than that. Great guitar. And I'm going to go to questions. I see one popping up. And this is a good question. So we have Caper Away is asking me, and I think I may have, I've answered this question before, but not on this show, so I'll do it now. And don't be mad at me, because I have ideas about things. And, oh, is it stage ready? It absolutely is stage ready. It has a K&K pickup in it, which is a passive contact pickup. It involves no holes in the guitar whatsoever, no batteries, no nothing. You plug this thing in, it's hot as hell, and you sound just like you're playing through a microphone. It's all that I use on stage is K&K pickups. Big shout out to those guys. The question from Caper Away is, what are my thoughts on the Yamaha trans-acoustic guitars? Although I'm a huge fan of Yamaha acoustics, and everybody knows that, I think they make some of the best handmade guitars in the world at that level where they're building, hundreds and thousands of these guitars. But the transacoustic system is really just a gimmick. It's not something that any professional player would actually use, I don't believe. I don't need, and for those who don't know what it is, it's an electronic system that's inside the guitar that creates different effects like reverb, chorus, delay inside the guitar. So it uses a system that vibrates the guitar as a speaker. It also has a small speaker inside the guitar. And it's just this really weird thing that is sort of useless, because if you were playing live, you'd have a guy in the front of the house to put reverb and whatnot and compression on your guitar. You wouldn't really want to be sending it out of your own instrument. And I'm just not a big guy on effects to begin with, and that's my preference. A lot of people use choruses and reverbs and loopers and compressors and whole pedal arrays on stage, I plug my guitars with a K&K pickup directly into a DI or my amplifier, which is usually completely flat, and there's a little bit of reverb on it, and that's all. And that I do that because that's what's made the Soundman the happiest over the past 40 years, is the simplest signal that sounds like the guitar. I don't want my guitar to sound like something else. I want it to sound like it sounds right now when I'm playing it in the room. That's the sound I want to come through the speakers. So another reason why I'm a little prejudiced against creating all this false sonics coming out of an instrument that doesn't actually produce them. So that's my thoughts on transacoustics. I'm sorry if I insulted Yamaha or anyone else. It's not that they're bad guitars. They're excellent guitars, but I just think it's a little overkill to do something like that to an acoustic instrument. Hi from Annapolis Royal, Brother Joe, how you doing? Shane, okay, here's a great question. Shane Arsenault asked me, is an expensive capo worth it, and is there a tonal difference or just for show? So the answer is there's a huge difference in capos, and it depends on what you're using them for. So I use a variety of capos. Like for instance, tonight I just borrowed one from the shop here. The kind gentleman gave me this Planet Waves, which is made by D'Addario, and I use these quite a bit. And the reason I use these is because they have a nice solid rubber tongue that I think is a bit more solid than even a Shub capo, and their tone sounds better. And also they have this screw adjustment, which I love, because it means I can, depending on where it is on the neck, I can tighten this just enough. And I've used them so often I know exactly how much to tighten them. Doesn't take the guitar to tune one bit. So that's one advantage to using this type of capo, and these are not expensive.
$15.
How much?
15.
Yeah, $15 for this. So then from there you get into capos like the two biggest ones that you're going to find on the market today are Shub and Kaiser. And these are the normal commercial style capos that you're going to find in every store. Shub is a lever system capo that has a softer rubber, and they're not quite as adjustable as that one, even though they do have a screw on them, which actually just increases the amount of pressure that the lever puts on it. But they're tough as hell. They last forever, and the rubbers can be taken off and replaced. So if you get a good Shub, they last you for years and years and years. They're, again, when you put them on, you have to do a bunch of things to make them work. So that takes us to Kaiser. Kaiser's a giant rubber clothespin, and they're super fast, and they fit on the headstock of the guitar. You just clamp them there and leave them there. When you need them, you go boom, and it's done. And I use those all the time too, and that's why, for speed. If I need to get a capo on, I'm in between tunes or changing tunes between tunes without talking to the audience, I can just go boom and I'm done. My capo is on and ready for the next song with no fooling around, no adjusting a thumb screw, like none of that stuff. And it's the same. And the only thing about Kaiser now is that because they're spring loaded, they're just a clothespin or a mousetrap, right? That spring wears out eventually. So Kaisers will only last you so long that you got to buy a new one, but those aren't that expensive either. So that leads us then into the high-end capos that you're going to pay anywhere from $65 to $200 for. These are names like Page. Shub makes a Page-style capo that's made of special alloys and has an extra heavy-duty thumb screw in it, and it has a balancer on it so that the arm doesn't press, it presses equally on the strings. There's all these companies that make these incredibly elaborate, and let's not forget G7, that also came out recently with a thumb screw style, Page style capo, which in my opinion is the best one on the market right now. And so there's all of those, and then I could think of a few others. Like what are some of the really weird fancy, there's some really fancy ones.
G7?
I mentioned those guys, they're tremendous.
There's the Dunlop cables. It's like a wire that's
That's
the most famous one.
Yeah, so basically what you're looking for in a capo is something that's fast enough to suit your situation. And then you're gonna find a tonal difference depending on the guitar. It's just that simple, because what creates a tonal difference in this guitar here is a boucher. So I know, and anybody who's ever played one knows, that the necks of these guitars are like a living creature. They're vibrating in your hand, like it's shaking your hand. There's so much life in the neck. So if you don't put a capo on it that rejects that, it will take away some of your volume, projection, all these things. But if you put a good capo on it, like a fair quality capo on it, this guitar will lose no projection or thickness or anything. I'll give you an example. If we just play a few things in here in G. And then we capo this guitar at the 7th fret. Most guitars would reject this, and they would sound tiny and small and lose all their body. These don't do that. And all the bottom end is still there. The notes are just higher. That's all that's changed. And the tuning is, the only thing I had to adjust was the big string, because it's the biggest one. It'll stretch a bit more than the others. So capos make a difference, and also the guitar. So my suggestion is to try all of them and pick one you like, and don't worry about the cost, because it's a tool that's important. So yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to guitar here. I'm going to try this other boucher. I've played all of these already, but I'm going to play them again because they're awesome. This is an SG41. This is the Bubinga. No, this is the mahogany. They're both mahogany. No?
Could be. That might be the Bubinga there.
I think that was the Bubinga.
Okay.
This is the mahogany. They're so hard to confuse them because he picks this really tight grain. Look at the grain in that neck. Holy God. That's just beautiful. And notice how he always matches the neck color to the body on every single guitar. He's very picky about that. I wanted to have a plain mahogany neck on my signature model. He wouldn't let me because the guitar body was dark. So this is the mahogany. That was the Bubinga. So this is the 41, and this goes at right around $4,500. It's just a massive sounding guitar. A little brighter than the other one. Brilliant. Again, it's an OM Studio Goose body, and has the Adirondack top. And the only difference you're going to find these two guitars is the body wood, which means that one will be slightly brighter than the other. This one's slightly brighter than the Bubinga, and of course, again, all bound in maple, ebony heel block cover, and K&K pickup. Yep, another K&K pickup in this one. So these are the best pickups you can buy. So this guitar is stage ready to go. So there's my big shout out to Robin Maestro. I love you. You're the man. And let's see if we can find another question here. I think there's not many questions happening tonight because I'm playing and it's distracting them. So let's see.
There was another one.
What's that?
Something did come in.
Yeah, there's been some stuff come in. Let's see, Acoustic. There's a capo. Oh, there's our man Tim Bennett from Taiwan. Do you do your own guitar setup? Yes, I do. Matter of fact, I've been doing it for years. And if I do things that are, if I have problems that are require a lot of like cutting and shaping and stuff like that, I take it to someone and have it done. The same guy, I got to give a shout out to this guy because he's been doing my guitar work for 30 years. His name is Doug Sampson, and he works over in Bedford. And I've been taking my guitars to him since I was 24, maybe 23. And for any kind of heavy duty work, like, shaping a saddle or doing a neck reset or fret job or anything like that, I take it to him. But my action and stuff, I know how to set my own action. I can shape a nut. I know how the truss system works in guitars. I can shave saddles down. I can reseat pickups if I need it, but I don't use guitars with undersaddle pickups anymore, K&K. So I don't have to do that anymore. But occasionally I come across a guitar with the top might have bellied a little bit, and it looks like it might stay there a while. So shave the saddle down a bit. Some guitars I have to adjust the nuts to make sure the action's right at the first fret, about 18 thousandths of an inch. And yeah, so if we stop asking questions, we're hoping JP will play for an hour. that's second to 50. You've been here before too. I remember you. Let's see, playing Orkney tuning. I don't know. Jan Kolesnikov wants to know if I play an Orkney tuning, and I don't. I'm not even sure what that might be. I know I've been there, I've played there, and I'm sure that they have all kinds of bizarre tunings I don't know about. So no, I don't play in that, but I might actually look that up now. I'm curious to see what kind of tuning that is. So let's see, we're doing well. Any more questions? Okay. Well, maybe I'll play some more. Let's talk about something very exciting. This is our new sponsor we're working with, and I'm really happy about this because, as you all know, as much as I play these guitars, which is nearly all the time, I realize that a lot of my fans can't afford this or have to take some time to save the money to buy one of these masterpieces. In the meantime, they want to play something that I play, that I recommend, and I always look for the best quality for the money. Over the years, I've worked with Yamaha and Sigma and several different companies that built guitars that were, good guitars for the money. And so those companies sometimes don't last very long because there's only so much room in the market for guitars, and it takes something kind of special to stick out and get people's attention. So a few years ago, when I heard that this company was coming back, I was a little bit shocked because I remember this company from the Montgomery Ward catalogs, and which became Woolworths and Sears and Roebuck here in Canada. They sold these guitars long before I was born, but I knew about them from pictures. I had known people that owned them that were they were made in the 30s and 40s, and I heard the name Recording King, and I went, really? Is that the Recording King? And I started to look around, and I looked around online. Sure enough, it's the actual Recording King. Some real smart young fellows out in San Francisco decided to resurrect the brand and the recipes and the designs, and they are designing and building these guitars, designing them in the United States in San Francisco and having them manufactured in the luthier shops in China, as almost all of the secondary companies are doing now because China's work is so good. And so they've come up with these really cool guitars, and the prices are ludicrous how low they are. And I'm pushing everybody towards them because, hey, if you need to save some money and you want a cool guitar anyway while you're waiting and saving, this is the way to go. I'm going to show you one right now. These have just arrived here at Fantasie Music, and this guitar here is a prime example of the original Recording King that was sold by Montgomery Ward and other department stores in North America in the 30s and 40s. They even named this the Dirty 30 series. So what you've got here is basically, the only way I can describe these guitars is they're a combination of a Gibson and Martin design, and I think pro players will love these for the simple fact that if you want the sound in your studio of a 1930s Gibson and can't afford to pay $800 million for one, because they're ridiculous what they cost now. I've seen these things go for 50 grand, and you still want that sound. They make these, and this is obviously an all laminate guitar, but the fit and finish of it is flawless. There's not a seam on it anywhere. I know where the seams are. You can't even feel them. You can see them a little bit, but they're put together really solid. The bracing is all clean. The inside of the guitar is flawless, and the necks are beautiful, round, vintage necks, and they sound like this. Listen to that E string. That sounds like an 80-year-old Gibson, and I just love that. I would have one of these in my studio all day long just to play rhythm tracks or any number of things you can do with it. But they just got that beautiful, much older sound than it should have. Guitar. If you want a guitar that's really cool, really retro, and actually sounds as retro as it looks, you're not going to get much better than this. And when you see what this thing is worth, you better have your hands on something to steady yourself with, because the retail on this guitar here is $295. That's stupid. It's stupid how cheap that is. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at this thing and playing it, and this guitar is going to last. This will stay together for you. And because I've seen a lot that haven't, and I can tell just by looking at them that they're not going to stay together, but this thing is well made. And I love it. I love this. I just love it. There's a few little things about it, like there's a little bit of fitting, there's a little bit of shavings at the side of the bridge there where they cut it out, but even the bridge style, you don't see these bridges on any guitars anymore because they stopped using them 80 years ago. But they've gone back and resurrected all of that. And even the fret markers are actually almost sort of painted on. The guitar, that's the way they were in the 30s. Everything was painted on. This wouldn't have been real, but this is real. It's a real pickguard. And beautiful, nice enclosed pearloid machine heads. They work, they're smooth, they work well. So for $300, it's going to be hard to beat that. I'm telling you. And so I'm just going to go through there's a couple of other. So this one here is the 7 series, right? That's the Dirty 37 series. You can tell this series by these fret markers. And then we go up to the 9 series. Which here's another dreadnought, which is almost identical, except it's missing the double bar fret markers. But this is the 9, Dirty 39, dreadnought body. Again, all laminate.
Solid Sitka top.
Yeah, it's a solid Sitka on this one. That one there is completely laminate. But this is a solid Sitka spruce, most likely brought from Canada. Haven't tuned this one yet. This one really has that vintage. I love the sound of that. Just love the sound of it. They sound like that guitar sounds like it's 80 years old. So that's a lot of fun. What's the retail on this one? There's no price tag on it.
$495.
$495 for this. So you get a solid top on this one.
Sorry, $429.
$429. Sorry, $429. So there's the Series 9, Dirty 30 Series 9 with the solid top. And then over here they get into the OM body style, which is really, they make a really nice OM. Again, this guitar, and this guitar comes with a pickup system in it. It's a Fishman I system, and or ISIS they call it. And we plugged it in earlier, and it blew my mind. It doesn't have an EQ on it. It just says volume, tuner, contour button, and a phase button. And we put it through a Harkey acoustic guitar amp, and it sounded incredible to have no EQ, no nothing. It's very balanced. Everything works. And this is, again, it sounds just like what it is. It sounds like an ancient guitar. I love the way this one in particular plays. Tunes she hadn't played yet. I was in here the other day when these came in and opened it to take them out of the boxes. It was fun. Again, this one is with a pickup system in it, mind you, $549 with a pickup. Yeah, it's hard to beat that either. And they're just, I just like the way they look. I love these. So now we're going to get into their other. These are the original catalog guitars. And they make a few models below this too. Really small parlor body type guitars that I love those too. They sound really cool.
They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming. Now, over on the other side of their coin, they've paid their respects to the Martin Company. And they've gone with these traditional Martin bodies. So the first one I can show you is this, which is basically an 18 with a cutaway. This is the RD G6, and it's mahogany, laminate mahogany, with solid top, and with a pickup. This has a Precis pickup in it, which is a different make, and I'm not sure why. It has the same controls as the other one. I'm not up on my Fishman electronics anymore. Beautiful sounding guitar. A dreadnought mahogany cutaway. And I love the headstock design. Very reminiscent of Gallagher. Has this almost semi-French curl at the top. Again, price is going up a bit, but not much. $749 for that one. And so then they go into the small bodies, the OMs. Again, mahogany. Laminate mahogany, beautiful laminates, and your solid Sitka top. I love this thing. This might not get away from me. It just sounds so old. And this one in particular has a very freakishly wide neck. I'm not sure why they did that. I know that these guitars at one time had wider necks than we're used to on standard Martins and standard OMs. But this one has a very wide neck on it, and I find it real comfortable. It's really easy to play this guitar. So there's that, and then I want to check our questions. I know there's lots of people talking to us here.
You're gonna need the guitar to answer one of them.
Okay. Let's see, Taiwan. Please play for now. Right on. Okay. Oh God, there's so many good questions. Good Lord. Does the guitar come with the player? No, fortunately. Okay, so there's a bunch of questions. I want to get to these, and I'll answer all of these because they're really interesting. So, you find people who play guitar by note only to be mechanical, and the answer is yes. I think I've gone into that before. Mind you, it can happen not, but most people who have to have sheet music in front of them and aren't capable of playing without it aren't playing. They're just reading. Their technique may be impeccable. They might sound incredible, but there's something. There's a soul missing in that somewhere. Where if you can't play something from memory and just feel that it's right or wrong, there's something weird about that. It becomes completely mechanical. Now, with that being said, I don't really know anybody who only plays from sheet music. Even symphony players play by ear all the time. They use sheet music and theory to memorize where they are in huge pieces, right? So, yeah, you're not going to really run into anybody that's only plays by sight. That's really rare. It can happen, but if that's the case, usually those people are incredible technicians, and they're going to get hired in all kinds of different settings because they can read so effortlessly and they can play so effortlessly just by looking at something. That's a talent in itself. But it is mechanical. It's kind of hard to put feeling in something when you're not really interpreting it on the fly. Of course, that's just my opinion, but I think everybody should learn to play by ear and use theory afterwards to further their own encyclopedia of licks. And then after that, we've got that was from that was my brother Joe said that one. Cool. So Rob Richardson. Okay, I'll do a little bit of this. Okay, I'm not going to take requests, but because it's a technical question, I'll do this for you. I'll do it on a boucher because I'm more familiar with these necks. I'm just learning the recording king, so the lovely Ginger. I'm just going to play a bit of this. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Can you get in there nice and close?
Mm-hmm.
You good?
Yep.
You good?
Yep.
I hope that helps you. I will eventually probably end up putting that on Master Music Method at some point when I start to get into my master classes, but we're not quite there now, but I may start adding master class material to Master Music Method. So you should go sign up for it. It's only $15 a month, and you have access to dozens of videos that are close up like that, looking at it from your head's perspective, your right hand and left hand. And that's actually a great number to consider putting on there because, well, it's hard as hell, and it's Chet. So that's that request came from Rob Richardson. Wanted me to do that so he could take a look at my right hand technique. So I hope that helped you. Caper Away wants to know if I have any advice on posture to prevent injury while playing guitar. We don't have enough time. I personally have, at one point in my late 20s, injured myself so badly playing music that I required surgery on both hands and a year of rehabilitation with the specialist here in Halifax that only deals with musical injuries. They actually have a therapy program there that's designed for repetitive stress injuries that musicians get. So imagine violin players staying like this for all their life, oboe players and horn players holding this big heavy instrument up in front of them all the time. They get this thing called thoracic outlet syndrome, which I gave myself, which means that you feel like you're having a heart attack all the time. It's incredibly frightening and painful. And then on top of that, I ruined both carpal tunnels and had to have both hands done. And it was all from playing, posture, bad posture, like gripping the fiddle too hard with and I still have a lot of osteoarthritis in one side of my neck from holding the fiddle down for 30 years, the wrong way, crunching up and playing like this. And you shouldn't do that. You should always relax. And when I play guitar, I used to hunch up and get all like that, and that causes injury every single time. So I learned that when you play, I wrote this in my book, when you play, you imagine the top of your head to the tips of your fingers just being water. And you splash yourself over the guitar, and you just let it all hang down. You just touch the guitar, and that's your point of energy. That's it. Don't try to do this and muscle the guitar. Just relax. And I always tell people, let gravity help you. When you're picking, when your fingers, anything you're doing, just let the hands fall where they may. Relax your shoulders. Relax. Don't turn your head all this way. You gotta relax. If you tense up at all, and that's the first thing that people do when they're learning, is get tense because they want to succeed and they want to not make a mistake. And then when they make a mistake, they get tense and all of a sudden you're hurting yourself. So just relax. You have to relax. And that's the best thing I can tell you is posture. That's why I also started playing standing up most of the time on stage, because it helps the posture. Because when I'm sitting down, I tend to lean over my instrument and do this. Even though I'm really relaxed, I can do it without hurting myself. But it's still, after a while, the back starts to hurt. And so when I stand up, I'm very straight and put one foot in front of me and keep the back real straight and play the guitar right off my belly. And try to keep the neck down. Don't do this. It's real tempting to do that because it feels comfortable, but you got to play it straight down. And you keep your body straight and your shoulders straight and look straight up to the audience or wherever you're doing, right? And it's a massive help on the physique when you're playing all the time. So yeah, good Lord, holy God. Okay. Don't play while driving. That's a good one, Joe. Electric guitar of choice. My electric guitar of choice, second to 50. My electric guitar of choice, I have two. Obviously, the Gretsch, the Country Gentleman, is my favorite guitar of all time, and because of Chet. And I've owned several of them. I actually have a 1969 that I never take out. It's actually with my friend, who owns it. He owns it, but he gave it to me. But I let him keep it. He wants me to take it back, but I never do. I'm so scared something will happen to it. And I recorded that guitar a lot. And then I had a 59 reissue that I bought in Toronto that I absolutely loved. And for some stupid, idiotic reason, I sold it to one of my best buddies, Catahoula Brown. Bought that 59 Gretsch and reissue. And he'll never sell it back to me, and I don't blame him. And my other electric of choice is the Telecaster. That's what I played in Nashville and in the States. Whenever I had an electric in my hand, it was a Telecaster. I just prefer the tone of them, and somehow they feel more playable to me than a Strat. And I hate Les Pauls. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I don't know why. They're too heavy. They're really heavy, and the intonation always seems to be bad, and the scale's short. That's right. I'm just my buddies are reminding me of stuff here, but that's true. So yeah. So that's quick answer there. I'm trying to get all these in. This is good.
One from Scott.
Scott McCone. Scott McCone is a great guy. I used to tour with Scott when I was a kid. We had a band together. Actually, had 3 or 4 different names. But he says, "Am I the most handsome man that ever shared the stage with you?" As a matter of fact, you probably were. Okay. Hey, let's see. And we're playing doors and shooting. Oh God. Michael Easter has asked in a recent video, one of my biography videos, about playing at the age of 10, said that yellow is a happy color, and do I relate tones to colors? And I think I've already may have explained on here, didn't I, Ginger, at one point talking about synesthesia here?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I have synesthesia, which is a neurological hiccup that causes you to see music, like literally see it in shapes and colors in your vision while you're playing. And it's not uncommon. Actually, the people that have it the most often are mathematicians. It's actually a left brain issue, but it's like the left brain don't work in musicians, right? It's all right brain. So it's almost like I had it explained to me recently that it's the right brain trying to translate the left brain mathematicizing music, right?
It's not a word.
Mathematification.
It's still not a word.
Okay, I don't know what the word is, but the left brain is trying to speak in math, and the right brain doesn't understand it, so it turns it into shape and color. And because the right brain also does all your imagining and your daydreaming and dreaming and all those things, it occurs in your vision. Because music's so powerful, it shuts off all these other parts of your brain when you're playing. And so the right brain just takes over and goes, hey, 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 here I am. And sometimes some people can see that occurring, and that's what synesthesia is. And it works for me. I literally get lost. If I don't know where I am, I just look. Oh, there I am. And I don't have to think about it. It's in front of me like sheet music, right? So look it up. It's really cool. Synesthesia, and it has another name I just found out as well. It's another type of it that I don't know as much about, but it's a fascinating problem to have. Let's see now. Rob Richardson says, I'll probably play the Entertainer over 1,000 times. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to leave it up. Oh, there's a good one. Scott come back and asked, was Ronnie Prophet an influence on you? Ronnie Prophet, if you don't know who Ronnie Prophet was, he was a Canadian guitar player and singer, songwriter as well, who became very famous doing his own television shows here in Canada and in the States. And he was, the only way to describe him was like the Elvis of the guitar. He wore the white jumpsuits and he played a Telecaster. Actually played a Peavey near the end of his career, his life, last 20 years. He played a Peavey electric. And a Telecaster and a Strat. He was such a great guitar player. And I'm really proud to say that about 2 or 3 years before he passed away, he contacted me out of the blue from his home in Branson and started an email conversation with me, and we ended up on the phone. And all because he had seen something I had done online. I think it was Hometown Battlefield. And he called me up. The man, I was nearly crapping in my pants. I couldn't believe it. This guy called me. And he was so nice, and he was quite elderly at the time. And his wife got on the phone with him. Like, and they were just, oh my God, we can't believe we're just such a big fan of what you're doing, and blah. And I was just like, but then we actually sent recordings back and forth. He wanted to hear my version of Windy and Warm, so I went in my studio and cut it and emailed it to him, and then he sent me this song that he had done. And then I had an open invitation. He said, if you want to come to Branson, or we're leaving Branson, he said, we're going back to Florida, and we're going to go down there. If you want to come to Florida, or if you ever come to Branson when we're there, stop. And then sadly, a few years later after that, he passed away. But it was amazing to talk to that guy, how gracious he was, and what a tremendous musician and such an ambassador for Canadian music is. I don't even know what else to say. He was a great man and a great musician, and he comported himself in such a way that made you proud to be Canadian. He always stood up for us. He won all kinds of Junos and CMA awards, and always forgot where he was from. He always came back here and played, and yeah. So Ronnie Prophet. I'm sure there's lots of other fans. Okay, Ian Rossiter wants to know, can I touch on picking velocity when flat picking? I've gone through this a few times, but I'll just answer it very quickly, is that the only way to get velocity in flat picking is if you turn the pick over towards the floor when you're picking. So instead of playing at that angle, you push it at that angle. And it decreases the amount of surface of the pick that's touching the strings, and it makes you twice as fast. That's the short answer. So there you go. I hope that helps you. But that's as simple as it is. It just takes a little practice when you know you have to do something quick to turn that pick that way.
I think it was in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, but I don't mind re-answering that question in a short manner. So there's also an entire video on it on Master Music Method too. Okay, let's see. Let's keep going here. There's lots of people here. Ian Roster says, love the cross picking from last week. Tried CrossFit by mistake. Left after I found that they don't provide ashtrays. Oh, God. Here's a good question. Ryan Nelson wants to know, my son is flat picking fiddle tunes on the guitar. We got a man here that does it really well. What's the difference between the Boucher Triple O or the Bluegrass Goose models as far as tone for fiddle tunes, picking, and accompaniment? That's a really good question. My signature model is a Triple O. I personally feel it sounds every bit as good as a Dreadnought. It doesn't have that kind of violent volume that a Dreadnought has, that explosion of volume. But it has lots of volume, and the volume is clean. And also a Triple O body will have a 12 fret neck instead of a 14 fret neck. Unless you get one of my signature models, then it'll be a cutaway, you won't mind. But for playing fiddle tunes, that slightly shorter scale makes things much faster. And the Triple O body is also a cleaner tone. So if you're wanting to do fiddle tunes on guitar, I would always go with the smaller body. Either go with the OM or the Triple O, and you won't ever be disappointed because you'll still have all that penetration and that fat bottom end, but there'll be no mud on it, and there'll be no volume confusion. All the strings will all sound the same volume and same penetration, which is important in playing fiddle tunes because you're all over the place. It isn't like playing sort of a standard kind of thing. You've got to use the whole guitar sometimes to play fiddle tunes because you're often working out of a different octave than a fiddle. You might end up having to, there's tunes I can think of right off the top of my head that go from the G string to the E string. The pattern of the tune covers all 4 strings of the violin. In order to do the same lick on a guitar, you covered 6. It actually eats up all 6 on a guitar. Tunes like Poppy Leaf, and there's a lot of movement. So you want, and the Triple O neck has more room on it. You'll find it has more room because it's shorter scale, slightly wider, and it's real comfortable to play. So if I was going to go, especially if you're going Boucher, either get a Triple O of whatever they have going, because they're all awesome, or buy my signature model. I don't know. They're expensive, but they're a Triple O, top-notch Triple O with a cutaway, and so that's the difference you're going to find. But if you're just playing fiddle tunes, you really aren't going to notice a huge loss of those 2 frets, because most fiddle tunes aren't going to go up there too much. If they do, they're just going to go to the 12th. You're going to play the high E of the E string. That's sometimes in A tunes, right? You might get up there for some J. Scott Skinner stuff and things like that, or Denner McDonald, or some of the Winston tunes are up there. But yeah, 12 fret Triple O, Boucher, and you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that. Okay, let's see here. Let's go down here. Who's the best acoustic player in Canada that's not named JP Cormier? Oh boy, I read the question and probably shouldn't have because I don't like making those judgments, and I'm not gonna. All I can tell you is that I personally see guitar players in this country every day that make me go, and I just sit there watching them because they're everywhere.
Give you that face again? One more time? Perfect.
So, the other day I came in here, and Steve, the tech here, and one of the salesmen, I was back here looking at these guitars. All of a sudden I hear all this Cape Breton fiddle tunes coming off the guitar in the front. I never knew about him. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. Players are everywhere. So what you got to do is instead of ranking them, don't do that. Just discover all of them that you can, because every single one of them is going to teach you something. Doesn't matter how good you are, how long you've been playing, what style you're playing, nothing. None of that matters. You're going to hear people all the time, and you're going to go, wow, he's good. And then you're going to learn something from him. You'll see another guy and go, that guy's really good. And you'll learn off of both sides. I always say, I'll say it again, you can learn something off the worst player in the room, because there's no such thing as the worst player. It's just everybody has their own way of doing things, and it doesn't matter if they're playing at the very top pinnacle of ability or just beginning. Everyone has a way, and if you watch everybody's way, you'll learn. And that's the ultimate reason to even listen to guitar, is to learn. Even if you don't play, your brain's taking it in, right? Okay, what's next here?
We should do the trivia question.
We have a request for Ginger to be on the episode sometime in front of the camera. That's probably not going to happen.
Got a face for radio.
This is a very good question, and you know what? I'm gonna start answering this now, because I want to. As a matter of fact, you know what, Scott? I'm gonna save that for the first question next week, because it's a wicked good question, and I'll read it to you right now. And next week we'll start with it. Many Maritimes, Scott McCone says, many Maritimers, especially you, whatever, have turned out world-class sounding albums. Is there a maritime approach to mixing and mastering music, or are they simply applying a classic approach? God, that's a good question. That is a great question. And I'm going to go into that in depth first thing next Wednesday night. And so tune in. We're going to answer that. I might even get some help answering that. That'll be interesting. We might see some people that would help us. All right. Now, we're going to do our giveaway and our trivia question. It's my favorite part of the evening. So tonight, the prize was there's great prizes. So, the prize tonight is whoever answers this question correctly will get a coupon for $50 off of any one of these Recording King guitars, and they also get this very nice profile black leather guitar strap, a nice set of D'Addario Durlin picks, and I'm quite sure they'll let you change the gauge if you want. These are 70s. You know I tell you to use heavier than this, but that's okay if you want to. And you'll get my personal brand of choice, Elixir Phosphor Bronze 12 to 53 light gauge, and a nice D'Addario capo that is dual adjuster. It's a clampy like a Kaiser, and it has a spring adjustment like a Shub or anything other thing like that. It's kind of a cool. I like these capos because you can do both. You can actually change the tension on the clothespin, which is really cool. This comes with something else. Oh,
Tuner clip.
it's a micro tuner clip. That's cool, right there. So you get all of that. You get $50 off any Recording King plus all of that stuff. Also, just gonna, aside from the contest, we're gonna have our owner come in here, Mr. Stephen McNeil, the good one.
It's MAC, yeah.
How are you doing, Steve?
Very
Thanks
good.
for having us.
Thank you
Tell
for
us
coming.
about the reverb guitars and how you're gonna put a little discount on those. All these guitars are on reverb right now, all the Recording Kings.
We uploaded everything to Reverb, and
Mm-hmm.
they are 10% off right now for the next couple of days. So if you're
Yep.
watching the show, JP played most of these guitars tonight.
Yep.
We'll upload a little clip of you playing them,
Yep.
and they'll be 10% off for the next 2 days.
Yep. And so here's the question that will get you the $50 coupon off of any Recording King plus all this nifty stuff here, and we'll get you to come in here and say hello to Steve and Steve. They're both Steve. This is a hard one, and I say this every time, but somebody usually gets them. So whoever puts the answer here on YouTube right now, okay? First one I see. We all know the Wildwood Flower. It was written and performed, well, supposedly written by an American group, country music group. There was a specific style of guitar that came out of that group, played by a woman they called Mother Maybelle. What is the name of the guitar style Mother Maybelle is credited with inventing?
Here it is.
Oh my God! I didn't even get the question out of my mouth. Ryan Nelson, the Carter Scratch. That's exactly what it was called. So Ryan Nelson, here's what you're going to do. You're going to send an email to Fantasie Music. That's FANTASIE
Show me the card.
music@gmail.com. Send an email to that email right away and identify yourself as the winner, Ryan Nelson. And you'll get in touch with Steve. He'll set you all up. You can come in and pick up your stuff. And if you want to buy a Recording King, you get $50 off. Isn't that awesome? I never even got the question out of my mouth. I was like, and there it was. Way to go, Ryan. Awesome. So I'm going to close the show with this last Recording King, which I'm pretty proud of. They are also building these fully solid, serious nods to vintage Martins. And this, of course, is a D28 herringbone, is what it really is based on. And they've gone all out with this. This is an Adirondack top, and it has the vintage Waverly tuners. I think these are Waverlys. Oh no, they're Grovers. Same difference.
Get a request to play Wildwood Flower if you're
Yeah. And
so inclined.
all solid rosewood, beautifully done. I mean, even the heel cap is that imitation mammoth. It's gorgeous. Just a beautiful guitar, and they sound just like the other Recording Kings. They sound way, way older than they should be. Just has that flat, dead, punchy. I guess I might as well do some Carter Scratch. That's Mother Maybelle. Sort of how she does, but yes, sir. It's I'm actually I have one of these on the way. These are retailing for, again, this is an all solid guitar with a really cool pedigree. This company, as I said earlier, was around 90 years ago building guitars, and now they're back. And I have one just like this on its way to me. These retail Canadian only $1,395, $1,395, and they are beautifully made. And a guitar, if you can't afford your dream guitar right away, buy this one and save your pennies until you can get the Boucher. And then when you buy the Boucher, you'll still want to keep this. You'll have two great guitars. This one will definitely tide you over while you're banking your money. Recording King, Recording King. Awesome guitar, awesome guitars. I really think they're awesome. I'm proud they're finally here. Got a great piece of history there. And again, if you're looking for that lifetime instrument, Robin Boucher is the best guitar builder on the planet. I'll say that till the day I die. And here at Fantasie Music, you can see both lines. You have the two OMs there, and I'm suspecting they'll be gone. They move pretty fast. So you might see these, or you might see a Dreadnought, or you might see a Cutaway next time. You might see, Robin has a great variety of instruments he builds and gives to his dealers. So this is two great examples of his OM guitars. And then over here, hard to beat this for the price. Recording King right now, I think, is for the money, is the best guitar you can get for the money right now. At that price point, you're just not going to find nothing else like it. Especially these boys. I love these things. I'm going to have one of these. I might take one of these tonight, just because. And I love that sort of thing for the studio. And yeah, and I'll have my 28 very shortly. It's coming to me, and I'm going to do a whole video on that. And I'm just proud, and a shout out to Ashley in San Francisco at Recording King. Thanks for helping us and hooking up with us. It's great. So anyhow, that's about all for tonight. And I'll just see if we got anybody else here. Yes, you're all welcome. Thank you very much for being with us, and thanks to the Steves and for having me here.
Cheers.
It's
Anytime.
awesome, and thanks to the lovely Ginger for showing all that upper body strength for an hour. So, we love yous, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Next Wednesday night's Canada Day. Boy, have we got a show planned for them. Woo-hoo-hoo. Check us out next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Atlantic time. Remember, music is only as hard as you make it. We'll see you next time.